These are your odds of winning the Powerball, at least in recent years. Just for a comparison, this is a infographic demonstration of what that'll look like right here. If you notice at the top right, the bar is barely moving. You know when you scroll down a page how the bar is kind of big. If you're seeing it right now, that's 1% of the bar. It's half of the bar. 1 in 146 million chance. That's only half of it. There you go. So if you bought one ticket, that's your those are your odds of. So, title for my presentation is The Lottery, Risking It All for a False Hope and How It Affects the Populace. My thesis statement is that the lottery is a deceptive way of the government taking advantage of misinformed and lower class individuals by employing schemes and advertising to incentivize the populace into gambling. Quote by the Insured Retirement Institute for the Center of Generational Kinetics says, 15% of millennials say that the lottery is their retirement plan. 28% of them do not think that they can retire when they want, and then another 28% saying that they will not be able to at all. So let's get a few definitions out of the way and make things clear. So the lottery, by definition, is a means of raising money by selling number tickets and giving prizes to the holders of numbers drawn at random. Gambling is to play games of chance for money or to bet. This presentation will not cover lotteries in other countries, only government and state-run lotteries in the US. $1.5 billion with a B. That's how much money was accumulated and won during the 2016 Mega Millions. Even though the chances of winning that insane number was more than 1 in 300 million, more like 321 million. Even though the chances of winning that insane number was more than 1 in 300 million chance, making walking outside and getting struck by lightning 400 times more likely. Making walking outside and getting struck by lightning 420 times more likely. People still play it so much. The lottery rakes in a lot of money, that's undeniable. But why is this such a problem? This is such a problem because the people who play the lottery aren't the people with a lot of money. This is such a problem because the people that play the lottery aren't the people with a lot of money that they are willing to just throw at it. It's the people at the very bottom, making the least amount of money, throwing at the lottery for the dream of becoming rich. This presentation will cover topics such as the various different versions of the lottery, such as scratch-offs, weekly lotteries, and the major long-term lotteries like the Mega Millions and the Powerball. It will also cover who is participating in the lottery, minorities, the lower class, the upper class, why people even play the lottery in the first place, how it hurts and deceives people much more than it can ever help in the case of actually winning, and how the government utilizes that money. So, should there be action taken against the lottery? There absolutely should be action taken. People already complain enough about minority wage gaps, but don't actually talk about where they put their money in and how they spend it. The lottery only targets the poor, uneducated, and less fortunate. There are many ways in which to reduce lottery consumption and addiction. One easy way is for states to ban all credit card and debit card payments to purchase such tickets. This could raise the issue of someone withdrawing cash from an ATM, but the more steps you have to go through for an addiction, the more it makes you think before you act upon whatever you are doing. Another way to help with gambling addiction, more so the lottery's contributions to gambling addiction, is for people to be provided with a pamphlet with information about spending habits, how to invest and save money, and other ways just to be better with your money. Another way to help combat this is to ban advertisements supporting lottery, or instead just put up advertisements against it. Why do people even play the lottery in the first place? This section will cover what excites people, how it's just a small amount, or if it's not even gambling, and the amount of money that could be yours. What excites you? Maybe it's watching your money slowly fall in the stock market, succeeding in something you've been working hard towards, being efficient in getting from point A to point B, or even just looking forward to relaxing after a hard day. The rush can really derive from anything, Different forms of rushes can come in any shape or size, and something that is exhilarating to someone may be completely mundane to another. So why do we even feel the rush from these things? When we get down to the core of the rush, it all stems from why we want to do them in the first place. Why do people invest in the stock market? It is because they know they put in their long and hard hours into something that can be stressful or overwhelming. It is really because all humans crave a break, crave a time away from something that is difficult, and put themselves in an easier environment. So, why do people play the lottery? It's because they like to take a chance at winning big. It's as simple as that. But why is that a problem? The problem is paying for the hope, paying for the dream of having this pristine lifestyle of seemingly infinite money, while blinding themselves into thinking that they already have this dream when they buy the ticket. But instead, as a result, when they get that ticket back, they see they have lost $20 and go in the next week or the next month to do the same thing. And this is what's wrong with playing the lottery. People play the lottery in the first place for a chance at winning something big like mentioned before, and call it not gambling based on the fact that they aren't walking to a casino and wasting money. Surprisingly, a lot of people who play the lottery do not gamble in a casino, telling themselves that they are not gambling. The problem with this is that the people who play the lottery and not at the casino are skewing the definition of gambling itself, which is to play games for a chance at money or to bet, or to take risky action in the hope of a desired result. Those definitions are according to Oxford Dictionary. But instead of this definition, which the lottery clearly defines itself in, they upplay the act of gambling to the level of casino exclusivity. The lottery is gambling, alongside casinos in the exact same threshold. Another argument for this is that it's only a small amount. For people who regularly play the lottery, this simply is just not the case. When you say to somebody who plays the lottery regularly, paying an average of $223, to give you $220 upfront at the beginning of the year and not another dime for the rest of the year, they wouldn't. Basically, no one would. But because splitting that number into 12 months, each coming to around $19, it becomes much more accessible and appealing to people. The problem is not necessarily the amount of money you throw at the lottery, although the higher the number, the worse it is. The problem actually stems from the very beginning. The moment somebody thinks the lottery is an investment, and they start dreaming of all the stuff that they will buy when they win, holding on to a dream that is methodologically impossible is very unhealthy, so what happens is that they put more money into this dream that cannot be fulfilled. When somebody goes into a casino and plays the slot machines, they generally know the odds of winning. They have around a 25% chance of winning at least something, whether they break even on that spin or even just a little more than when they put in. It gives them a sense of progress and achievement, so they keep playing. Let's say they put in $10 on 4 spins each, and out of those 1 spins they win $50. They'll feel great. Even though they only basically won $10, they feel like they just gained 50. While they're playing and maybe winning these small amounts of money, they think they might hit the jackpot, which even while losing money, tricks your brain into thinking that the more times you spin, the higher the chance you hit the jackpot. This simply just leads to gambling addiction, to keep giving the machine more and more money until they run out. Playing slots is a lot like scratch-off tickets rather than a set of Powerball numbers. You pay a fee to have a small chance of getting your money back and more, a much smaller chance of winning a lot. That second part is more so why people play the bigger lotteries like the Powerball and the Mega Millions. They are paying for the infinitesimally small chance of winning an ungodly amount of money. Statistically, the more money you have, the less you spend on the lottery. And this is what will be addressed in the next proof. This next part of the presentation will address why the lottery is a tax on the poor, who purchases the tickets, taking advantage of the lack of knowledge, and the false hope and the cycle of poverty. Data actually shows by far the people who play the lottery the most are the people who make less than $33,000 a year, with many middle and upper class picking up a ticket maybe every couple of months. Even people who make minimum wage or anything less than $14,000 a year spend about 9% of their income on lottery tickets. Across the nation, African Americans spend about 5 times more money on the lottery than Caucasians, as shown in a study by Duke University. This isn't about race, this isn't about ethnic groups, it's purely based on who's buying the lottery tickets and where. 1 in 5 Americans believe that the lottery is the only way that they can accumulate a significant amount of savings. That quote is sourced by Vox.com. Another huge problem is how the lottery advertises itself. On March 25, 2011, the Mega Millions website posted the headline, quote-unquote, "Save for Retirement," which does not include any information about putting money aside for savings, cutting back on extraneous spending, or actually investing it through the many different media of investment, whether it be the stock market or Roth IRAs or any other bond. The lottery's advertisement system heavily depends on keywords such as these: savings, the future, and the most dangerous one of them all, the dream. As stated before, families that make a median income of less than $14,000 a year spend roughly 9% of it on the lottery. Quote by Forbes.com says, "Poor gamblers are more likely to jump at any chance to radically improve their circumstances, on the theory that any chance is probably better than no chance." This is the mindset of grasping something that's so unlikely, just the thought of changing their entire life off of one simple ticket keeps them going. This is also the part of the cycle of poverty. Poverty is driven primarily of 5 factors: chronic unemployment, personal debt, educational failure, addiction and trauma, and the breakdown of the family. A quote by standtogether.org. These factors combined lead to desperation and the loss of hope, spiraling into crippling debt, which in the US the average citizen spends about $1.33 for every dollar they make, and especially for low-income families, this debt is nearly impossible to climb out of due to a lack of skills and requirement to obtain a lucrative job. False sense of hope in the low-income areas have 2 main factors in itself: generational despair and the community behind advancement. So what does generational despair mean? Generational despair is the mindset of being stuck and lack of motivation to get out of any given situation. If someone is born into a family who is already impoverished and has been impoverished possibly due to that generation's actions or possibly due to the previous generations being poor, they can have 2 mindsets. That person or the whole family can make the stand to try as hard as possible to get out of said situation, or the choice that unfortunately is the more popular option, to stay poor and blame the system. This leads into the community's mindset behind advancement. This may be surprising, but the way that most low-income communities view advancement is negative. Others that get ahead are seen as selfish, stuck-up, and unloyal to the people that are behind. Introducing lottery tickets into these communities leads to a get-rich-and-get-out mentality, but produces the opposite effect of digging a deeper hole. This next section will cover where the money goes, government spending, mandated and non-mandated motives, and who it benefits. So where does the money go? First of all, the odds of getting the Mega Millions and Powerball numbers exactly are pretty much over 1 in 300 million chance, and there's no set number of tickets that people can buy, meaning that circulation is unlimited, so states' earnings simply comes down to how much they sell, and the more they sell, the more that the winnings go towards them. Let's actually break down how much the winning person gets from the jackpot and how much the government and state get. Obviously, the winner has to get the majority, but it's actually not as much as you think. A lot of people know you get taxed from the lottery, but only around 25% of the lotteries are technically taxed, meaning that it goes back to the states participating. These state distributions of winnings is based on whichever states sell the most, with a bonus going to the state that sells the most tickets, encouraging strong advertising and location. For example, a state like North Dakota, where gambling in the lottery is not very prevalent, selling only around $30,000 worth of tickets, earns around $8,000 from the government-funded lotteries. To put that in perspective, New York earns around $8 million from the lottery and gets around $3 million back. The other taxes that are taken away from you include 5% that goes to the retailers, 10% back to the lottery as a corporation, with most of it going back into advertising, along with paying staff salaries, fees, ticket printing, and other costs. This leaves the winner with the remaining 60%. The Powerball in 2016 boasted a record-setting $1.5 billion, leaving the winner with $900 million, which is just as mind-boggling. Before talking about organizations, schools, and motives that are not funded and not mandated, let's first talk about the ones that are. Quote-unquote funding education is a very vague term. There is no real proof towards funding certain things, like books, events, or furnitures. One thing that is clear in educational funding is public school teacher tuition. The average public school teacher makes anywhere from $45,000 a year to $75,000. It is never a bad thing when vital cruxes of an education system are funded. But all of this is education, which these 14 states make a priority, which isn't inherently bad, but some problems can arise. Some states also mandate funding towards gambling addiction and addiction to anything in general, such as rehab centers. When it comes down to non-mandated matters, states pretty much have free reign in choosing what they want to support and what they don't. A lot of states fund moral and helpful institutions, but some of them don't, and that is problematic. By not striving towards bettering the life of the people of the state, these states fund things that make them more money. Which again, this isn't inherently wrong, but to the life of the struggling citizen, this makes gaps in the social classes even more apparent. Some people use the argument that when they play the lottery, they know that some of the proceeds are going to a good cause, such as education mentioned earlier. This argument simply really just doesn't make sense. The main reason, predominantly the reason that people play the lottery, is for themselves, their friends, and their family. If people legitimately use this argument, They should know that the money that they put into it, less than about 2% of that money may go to something they support. The money that you put in the lottery really only benefits the government and not specifically what you support. So instead of playing the lottery for this reason in mind, donate the same amount into something you fully support, being about 50 times more effective than playing the lottery would be. Conclusion of final thoughts. So this paper has looked over the 3 reasons why the lottery is a deceptive way of the government taking advantage of the misinformed and the lower class individuals by employing schemes and advertising to incentivize the populace into gambling. These 3 reasons were why people play the lottery in the first place, how the lottery is a tax on the poor, and where the money goes. Why do these arguments even matter in the first place, and why should we understand how the lottery affects people? The lottery affects humankind because it hinders or restricts the people that aren't educated on financial freedom or are simply desperate to get out of the situation that they're in to get to where they want to be. The simple answer to this question is just to not play the lottery. By playing the lottery, it not only sucks you into thinking that you can win, but only raises the total amount of money for someone else to think they can win it too. So what should be done about the lottery as a corporation? I personally think that the lottery should implement a system to help with lowering the amount of lower class people playing it. This would sound counterintuitive from a business standpoint, but it sounds completely intuitive from a social advancement standpoint. One thing that can be implemented is a pamphlet that comes free of charge with every purchase of a lottery ticket, whether it be a scratch-off ticket or a Powerball ticket, to simply just state some methods of achieving financial freedom and independence. These pamphlets can state how to spend your money on things that are worthwhile and put your money aside or in a portfolio that can build upon itself. If printing costs are just pennies more than what they want to spend on it, simply just printing a shortened version of it on the back of a lottery ticket would greatly help too. Thank you.